Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you today. We have been working on this Gottlieb home run pinball machine for a while now. It's an old school wedge head with the world's worst paint job. Our buddy Shane painted this thing. Look at this. I don't know what he was thinking. Look at that. So he said he would handle the cosmetics and then he was going to bring it to us and have us fix it. So this is his cosmetics. Look at this. Now, he claims that he didn't do it. He said he bought it like this, but I don't believe him. I think he did it. Look at that. This is by far the worst cabinet paint I've ever seen. But even though it looks like crap, we've been working on it. So we did a video where we touched up the playfield a little bit and cleaned it all up. We did a video where we worked on the mech board underneath. We did a video where we worked in the back box. And then we did a video last time, if you didn't catch it, where we started troubleshooting the gameplay a little bit, and it's not working right. It's a little complex, not necessarily that it's hard to understand or anything, but it has a lot of kind of rules that we're trying to figure out. So basically you're playing baseball, and to make it a little harder, it's a add a ball game, ADD-A-ball, not to be confused with attaboy. It's an add-a-ball game. Which was used in some markets because you couldn't gamble on pinball machines legally in those markets. So they didn't want you being able to win a free game because that had value. So you could sell it. So let's say you won 5 free games on this pinball machine and they were a dime a piece or whatever, or a quarter a piece. Quarter a piece. Well, that's $1.25, and you could sell it to the kid behind you for 50 cents. And that's gambling, so you can't do that. And yes, those were the law in some places. That was the law in some places. So they made these special machines that you win free balls instead of winning free games. Now, you might say, well, I played games all the time that you could win a free ball on. Yeah, but you could only win 1 free ball. On this machine, you could add a ball over and over again. And so down at the bottom it says balls to play. They've got it set to start at 8. So it starts at 8 balls, and then you can win more. So you can, if you play right, you can move up. Now you've got 10 balls left to play or whatever, and then you can move it all the way down and play 8 of them, and now you've only got 2 balls, and then you can move it back up to now you've got 7 balls by just winning things on the playfield. So it's unique and kind of an interesting setup. So that makes it work a little bit differently, and you kind of got to figure that out too. So we've been playing with it a little bit, and we've got a few issues that we're trying to figure out. So we figured out a few of them, basically these rollovers here on the past video. And just did a little troubleshooting. But let's reset it again and see if we can fix some more stuff. So when I hit the start button, our reel's reset, and we move up to 8 balls to play. And you might notice that it didn't kick the ball out. Well, on this particular game, they have the ball in the middle there, which is interesting. Now, by the way, it says, do not use Canadian coins, please. Somebody has added that sticker. Look, I don't have anything against Canadians, so I don't take that as an insult. I guess they just didn't want Canadian coins at wherever place this was operated. I found, though, if you put a sign like that, you're basically telling people to please use Canadian coins. So we went up to ball 8, but on this particular one, there's no shooter rod. It's just how it was designed. They didn't put a shooter rod in it. So the way that you launch the ball is you hit the right flipper button. Ain't that sweet? So that's pretty cool. So we noticed a bunch of things last time. It seemed like whenever you hit this, it says 1,000 points when lit, but it looked like it wasn't doing anything when it wasn't lit. So that doesn't work. Okay. And then we noticed that if you get the single, it works, but it just gives you 1,000 points. So I don't know if that's, like, it didn't, that didn't move, but I'm not so sure that it's supposed to, right? Well, I guess we should read the instructions. So anyway, the single works, and then the double works. Okay, but the triple doesn't work. And the home run doesn't work. So we got to fix that. We got to figure that out. Now, we've got these lights here that say 1, 3, and then there's a 2 up here. So some of them were working and some weren't. So let's see if we hit it 2, what happens. So it gave us 100 points. It lit up second base, and then it lit this to 1,000 points when lit. Now if I hit it, I do get my 1,000 points. So it's just when that's not lit that it doesn't work. And then if we hit the 1, so let's hit 1. That gave me 100 points. It lit up this one, and it turned off this light because it's already lit. I mean, it's already hit, right? And then the same thing with the 3. Gave me points. It lit up third base, and it turned off that light. So that seems to be working right. Let's read the instructions just to make sure we know what we're doing, because I don't think I do. It says, points are scored as indicated. Hitting lit baseball target places man on corresponding base, indicated by lit rollover button. So there's a guy at home plate. Look, it's Babe Ruth. He's pointing where he's going to hit it. Guy on first, second, and third. And a shortstop. Well, that'd be the second baseman. You know what I'm talking about. Rollover buttons score 100 points when lit. Additional balls are scored for high scores and runs. For high score and runs. Tilt penalty, 1 ball plus the ball in play. Okay, and then over here it says 1 ball added for scoring the following points. So if you get to 50,000 points or 70,000 points, you get a ball. And it also says 1 ball added for scoring the following runs. 17, 26, 35, 44, 53, 62, and 71. So I think on the previous video we got up to 17. But it seems like we're getting 5 runs when we only should get 1 run and stuff like that. So we still got to figure all that out. So I guess that's working. But I don't understand how the man on base, is that only to give you 100 points or does that help you get runs? Like if I get a single now, shouldn't I get a run? The guy on third should run home. Okay, so we had 4,400. We ended up with 9,400 because that wasn't a single, it gave me a run. But I got 5 runs instead of 1 run. So I guess I got 5,000 points because the guy went home. It's just weird. And whenever you hit single and double, the guy doesn't run the base unless you've hit 1, 2, and 3. So I don't know. I don't know, folks. We're going to have to figure out what's going on with this. But that's basically the things that aren't working properly. Okay, so the first one I want to figure out, I was mentioning on the previous video, if you can't figure out some of the hard stuff, fix the easy stuff that you think you know how to fix, because it might fix the hard stuff. Right? So I don't know why some of that's not working right, but this pop bumper, so I turned off the man on second relay, right? So it turned back the 2s back on where they can be hit again, and it turned this off. So that turns this light off. Here, I'll show you that. Okay, so if I hit 2, it turns on the man on second light, and it turns on that pop bumper. And the reason that it did that was because it pulled in the man on second relay. Okay, now watch. If I hit the pop bumper now that's lit up, I get my 1,000 points, and that relay pulls in. Okay, but the man on second relay's in. That's why you get 1,000 points, and it works. Okay, so if I turn off that relay without getting killed, be careful, people. Don't shock yourself. Be careful. By the way, I'm just joking. You're not going to get killed. It does run off like 30 volts. It'll buzz you a little bit, though. Okay, so I turned that off. So now this pop bumper is off, so I should get 100 points. Hey, it started working. And the light's off, right? So watch when I hit it. that same thing pulls in. So why is it giving me 100? Why is it working now and the 1000's working? Well, probably what's going on is on that man on second relay, there is going to be a switch in there that if the relay's on, these two are touching. And it's routed so that gives you 1,000 points. If the relay's off, these two are touching, and it routes it so that it gives you 100 points. Okay, so let's take that relay out and see if that's right. And whenever I just turned it off, I probably wiggled it enough to where it made good enough contact that now it's giving you your 100 points because it's no longer like this, right? They call that a make or break switch. So we'll see how that looks. Okay, so here is that little relay. It's kind of hard. They made it where you can't really get it out, but I'll show you. So this is a latching relay. So basically, if this one pulls in, it makes all of these go this way, and if this one pulls in, it makes all of them go that way. So they stick on either that way because there's a man on base, and that way there's not a man on base. And if you look, sure enough, just like I was saying, there are several of these switches. See that long one, how it's touching this one side? And then if it were to latch in, now it's touching the other side and no longer touching this one, right? So one of those is going to have something to do with changing the points on that pop bumper. And it's not just this one, there's a couple more down underneath it. So I cleaned all those, but I probably didn't get it quite right. So I'm going to re-clean them, and we'll see if that makes it where you reliably get either 1,000 or 100 points, depending on what position that's in. Okay, so you can look on the schematics and see which switch actually does that, but there's a cheat you can use too, like if you don't have the schematics. Okay, so we think that it's making it check either the 100-point relay or the 1,000-point relay. Correct. So if you look in the back at the 100-point relay, it has a yellow, red, and gray wire running to it. It's turned on. The coil is turned on by yellow, gray, and red wire. And then the 1,000-point relay, the coil is turned on by a green, red, and white wire. Okay. So if there were to be a switch on that relay that alternates between a yellow wire and a green wire with red and gray things on them, that would be the switch. So if you look, it's kind of hard to show you, but there is a green wire and then a blade in the middle, and then on the other side is the yellow, red, and gray wire, and this orange and white wire lets it connect back and forth. So basically it's that switch there. So you can tell that that's what, exactly what it's doing. And I just knew that because I've seen it on other ones, right? So let's see if it works now. So there is our poor pop bumper, and the light is out, so we should get 100. Works perfect, right? And so now if we trigger our second baseman, now it's on, so we should get 1,000. And we do. And then if I reach in here, I guess at the end of the ball or at the end of the game, it will reset this. Whoop. If I turn it off to where it's off again, and back to our 100. So we fixed that. So now we need to work on the single, double, triple, and home run. So here's single. It says 1,000 points. So when I hit this, I get 1,000 points. Now in the bottom of this cabinet, not looking at the schematics, there is a relay that says single relay. There's one that says double relay. There's one that says triple relay. And there's one that says home run relay. Now, just for giggles, let's look at this one that says single relay. So this one, single relay. If I hit this single switch, that relay goes in, I get 1,000 points, and the score motor turns. Okay? So let's hit the double one. Now here's the double relay. This is the single relay. So when I hit double, watch what happens. Double pulls in and single pulls in. Now why would it do that? I guess it's because if you're running to second base, you're also going past first base, right? So a double is really a single and a double at the same time, the way baseball's played. Okay, so when I hit triple, so here's the triple, double, single. I thought something was vibrating. So if I hit triple, triple is pulling in, but double and single are not pulling in. So it seems like when double pulls in, it pulls in single. When triple pulls in, it's not pulling in double. So I think there's probably a switch on the triple that's supposed to pull in the double, which would then pull in the single. All right, so if I hit home run, this is the home run one, triple, double, single, home run. If I hit the home run switch, it pulls in and locks in. Triple, double, and single don't do anything. So it's staying in, right? And the switch isn't stuck on the playfield. It's just that coil is pulling itself in. So I'm thinking that there's something going on with the switches on the home run one and the switches on the triple one. So I'm going to pull those back out, look at them again, see if I didn't have something adjusted right or if something looks dirty. I think it's just going to be dirty contacts on those two relays. Okay, so here is the triple relay. And if you look, there is a wire right here that is white and gray. And if you look, the double relay, the wire that turns it on, is white and gray. So it looks like if this pulls in, it should send power to this and turn it on, but it's not. And that switch is pretty wide. So whenever it pulls in, even though I've already cleaned it, I must not have it where it's actually touching good enough. So I'm going to adjust that a little closer, and then we're going to look at the home run one. So looking at the home run relay, the triple relay is turned on by a yellow and blue wire. Okay, and on the home run relay, sure enough, there is a yellow and blue wire. So that switch looked fine, but I cleaned it and made sure it was adjusted to where it's touching and moving and all that. And so it looks like that's how it's supposed to work. The single gives you 1,000 points. The double turns on the double and the single. The triple turns on the triple, the double, and the single. And the home run turns on the home run, the triple, the double, and the single. But we'll see. Okay, so we're going to try it again. Let's see what we're looking like. So here's our single. All right, so it pulled in the single relay. Okay, here's our double. It pulled in the double and the single. Here's our triple. Aha! It pulled in the triple, the double, and the single. And if I can find our home run, here's our home run. It pulled in the home run, the triple, the double, and the single. Very cool. Okay, so I don't understand, though, the whole base runner thing still. Like, if I hit a single, am I not supposed to go to here? Like, how do I get... I didn't get a run when I hit a home run. I just got 5,000 points. All right, got to do some more research. Okay, so I think we got the single, double, triple, and home run points scoring, but it's not doing the... It seems to me like it should be lighting up the lights, but maybe not, and it's not giving me runs at the right time, and I think that probably has to do with that thing. So we spent a bunch of time getting that working again on one of the previous videos, but I don't think it's working right. I don't think it's being driven right. So we're going to reset it again, and we're going to keep our eye on that. So watch what happens when I start the game. Okay, so that's basically turning back to a position where it's on the first rivets, the first set of rivets, and then this switch over here opens on the side. Because there is a little, it's like a run-out switch. Okay, and if you look at it, that thing has got, so that's position home, we'll call it, position 0. That'd be position 1. The switch is closed on the side now. Position 2, position 3, position 4, and then whenever you get to position 5, you're basically at position 0 again because it opened the switch again. And it seems like it just goes around and around doing that, and it only goes one way. Okay? So sometimes when you hit the single, I didn't do it that time, maybe it has to be, if it's not on that home position, so if that's not open, so now that's closed, if I hit the single, it moves it until it's closed. So when I hit the double, the triple, all that, nothing makes it go. So I don't know why that is. So there's something going on there. I think that is some kind of memory that's keeping track of what base people are on. So like if I hit single, that should move up to like one position where now it knows that there's a batter on first, and it helps it keep track of how many runs you should have. I think. That's what I'm working on. Okay, folks, so I think I'm tracking it down without the schematics. I don't have the schematics yet. I ordered them, but I don't have them in yet. I almost had it figured out. But I had to look for help, right? So there is this website, funwithpinball.com. And if you go to it, there is a page on there that says things to learn, and it says animated circuits, and it talks about this particular setup. So basically, let me read this a little bit, and you can go to the website if you want, funwithpinball.com. They have a little article where they're talking about this, exactly what we're messing with, okay? So it says Gottlieb Grand Slam Base Runner Circuit Animation. In the early 1970s, designer Ed Krinsky at Gottlieb designed several single-player games with baseball themes. We're messing with one of them right now, all right? A main objective of these games is to score runs by hitting various targets that represent base hits. These games have a standard set of score reels for points like other games of the era, but they also have an extra pair of score reels to help keep track of runs scored. Keeping track of base runners as various base hits are registered is much more complicated and interesting than adding points. That's kind of what we're running into. Gottlieb baseball games that track base runners include baseball, batter up, play ball, extra inning, home run, there we go, that's the one we're messing with, Grand Slam, and World Series. Okay. The rules for determining which bases have runners seem pretty straightforward at first glance. A runner at first gets there by hitting a single. A runner at second base gets there by hitting a double or by advancing from first base when someone hits a single. A runner at third base gets there by hitting a triple or by advancing from second base when someone hits a single or by advancing from first base when someone hits a double. So you can see that once you start thinking about it, it's a little more complicated than it seems because it's hard to keep track of where each, and remember, they're doing all this with switches, you know, so it's hard to keep track of where someone is supposed to be and lighting up a light without a CPU. So if you were going to do this with software, you would have to write a similar software routine to get this to work, right? To determine whether a given base has a runner, you just need to evaluate the rules for that base. But much like a computer program, you can't evaluate all of the bases simultaneously. They need to be evaluated one at a time or sequentially. Evaluating them simultaneously would require extra circuitry without providing any benefit. Okay? Things get more complicated when you realize that the order in which you evaluate the bases matters. If you evaluate the bases in order, the results might surprise you. As an example, let's assume that the bases are empty and the batter hits a single base hit. The rule for first base says that there should be a base runner at first base. The rule for second base also says that there should be a runner at second base since there is a runner at first base and a single was hit. The rule for third base also says that there should be a runner at third because there is a runner at second base and a single was hit. So they're talking about just the when the computer, and we'll just have to consider it a computer, even though it's just switches in this machine. Whenever the electromechanical computer tries to decide if they're, whenever you hit a single, what should happen, right? Evaluating the bases in order results in runners on all three bases, which is incorrect. The problem with evaluating the bases in order is that the rules can't tell when the base runner arrived at the previous base. To avoid this problem, the bases should be evaluated in reverse order. So with the same scenario, base is empty, batter hits a single, the results are correct. Third base gets no runner since there's no runner at second base and then a single was hit. Second base gets no runner since there was no runner at first base and then a single was hit. First base gets a runner because a single was hit. So if you can't wrap your mind around what they're talking about, you can go back and reread it or go to this website and check it out. It's really interesting. Funwithpinball.com. Okay, evaluating the base runner rules with circuits. The circuits to calculate the base runner positions described here are based on the circuits from Gottlieb's 1972 Grand Slam pinball machine. The circuits have been simplified some for clarity, but are essentially those used in the game. I've got one of these Grand Slams as well. I need to bring it in, but it is destroyed. One of the worst games I've ever picked up, but we'll bring it in eventually. The back glass is perfect. The rest of it's destroyed. The main components of the circuit are a step unit. By destroyed, I mean rusty, and they repainted the playfield with chalk paint. Yeah, that bad. The main components of the circuit are a step unit, which is our little unit we were just messing with. Simple and interlock relays, which were the three, man on first, man on second, man on third relay. A score motor, and switches. The step unit is used to coordinate the order in which the circuits are evaluated. So that's what we were wondering about. The score motor generates the pulses that drive the circuit. 3 interlock relays are used to keep track of whether each base has a runner. Interlock relays have 2 coils to trip and reset that change the state of the relay. Once a pulse briefly activates the trip or reset coil, the interlock relay, it holds its position indefinitely until the next pulse. The brief video below shows the 2 coils on an interlock relay being pulsed alternately. So we already saw that, right? We don't need to watch their video. Whenever a base hit happens, the interlock relay for each base must accomplish 2 things. It must reset or clear the base runner it may have held and then reevaluate whether the hit puts a new base runner on the base. Now listen to how they figured this out. This is amazing. And this is not the most clever thing I've ever seen in an electromechanical pinball machine. There's a bunch of stuff like this. This is just a good example. Each base must also hold on to its previous runner until the next base has finished its calculations. So for all the calculations to complete correctly, 6 actions must complete in this order. Third base has to clear its base runner. So if there was a runner on third or not a runner on third, it has to delete that. Third base then evaluates whether it gets a new base runner. And it does that by looking to see if a double was hit and somebody was on first, if a triple was hit, or if a single was hit and somebody was on second. Right? So it's basically a computer program. Third base evaluates whether it gets a new base runner or not. Second base then clears its base runner. Second base evaluates whether it gets a new base runner. First base clears its base runner. First base evaluates whether it gets a new base runner. Okay. The circuit animation below shows the simplest case, a single base hit with no base runners. Only the circuits used to evaluate first base are shown. So this is pretty freaking complex, but you can figure it out if you think about it, okay? So here's the transformer, all right? And whenever you hit a single, the single switch pulls in, right? So when the single switch pulls in, it turns on the single relay. When the single relay pulls in, it pulls in these 2 switches on the single relay. These 3 switches on the single relay. Right? Now remember, we figured out that it pulls in every time. Okay, so I wonder if that's... We'll have to see if that stays the same on this. And so whenever it pulls it in, the one switch on the single relay holds the single relay on. One switch turns on the score motor. Okay? The score motor starts turning around. All right? And one switch pulls in the man on first relay, but not immediately. So watch this. This is like high-level complex stuff, people. So if you don't understand it, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. But so we'll play it a little bit. Right? So this is hard to understand what's even happening, but basically he has mapped it all out. Okay, so as it turns around, the switches hit like illustrated here. So the score motor starts turning, and it's going to trip these other switches as it goes around. So they're basically doing what he talked about. They're making it forget. It's working backwards, checking the bases, right? It says on the left is the motor switch timing chart and timing diagram that indicates when devices activate as the score motor turns. In the middle are the circuits for the light bulb under first base and the relay that activates when the first base target is hit. On the right are the circuits for the first base interlock relay coils and the solenoid that advances the step unit, called the hit unit in this circuit. Notice that the hit unit appears twice in the schematic. Each instant represents a different pair of wipers on the step unit. When the single base hit target switch closes, the single relay activates which activates the score motor and starts the animation. Using the score motor angle as a key, the important events in this animation are listed below. Okay. So it starts turning, and it's going to turn an entire third of a revolution, so 120 degrees, right? Because there's 3 home positions on the score motor. Motor angle 0, the single base hit switch closes, the single relay activates, and the score motor starts turning. Motor angle 70, whenever you get to that, the add hit unit solenoid relaxes, which advances the hit unit from position 2 to position 3. So they're saying that it's already been turning, and they're talking about when it advances from position 2 to 3. Motor angle 84, the motor 1A switch closes, which resets the man on first interlock relay. Motor angle 91, the add hit unit solenoid relaxes, which advances the hit unit from position 3 to position 4, which trips the man on first interlock relay and lights the first base bulb. The results of the simulation is that the man on first interlock relay is left in his trip position and the light under first base is illuminated. Okay, now we can't, this is, like I said, it's all pretty confusing. Let's go all the way through it down to the end whenever they're doing everything, okay? The animations below include circuits for all 3 bases, so check this out. So this is with everything working. All of those switches and relays are coming on the entire time, right? Single base hit with a runner at first base. So they go all the way through it. They're showing you how the whole thing works. And basically, there was one, two, yeah, this one. Let me show you this one. This is just 2 seconds long. Basically what they're showing you is that this starts turning, and when it does, all of these reset and then relatch if there is a runner on that base as it goes along, as this turns. So the whole point of this is it has to turn all 5 steps each time to make all of this do the right math. So when it turns, it's resetting one of them, and then it's evaluating if that one should be relatched. And then it turns and it's resetting another one and then evaluating if that one should be relatched. And then it turns and blah, 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 blah. And so each time that you hit a single, a double, a triple, or a home run, this has to turn from one stop to the next. And the only purpose of it is to make sure these all reset and reevaluate. So it's like a little computer. So if you watch this video, these will twitch just barely. You can barely tell that they're even resetting. You can hear the chimes, but so that's what we should be getting, right? So how do we fix it? Well, we need to, now that we know how it works a little bit better, we need to go check it out. And like I said, this is deep in the weeds schematics, basically. Okay, so we're going to watch this again. I see a problem with it. So as it steps around, it should go 5 steps, and then it should stop where this is down inside the indent, right? Let me see if I can get over here where you can see it a little better. So it's inside the indent. Now I'm going to just hit the single. It's going to be loud, folks. Deal with it. Okay, so it went from one to the next. One to the next. That time it went 2. That shouldn't have happened. That time it went 2. that time it went 1.5, and it stopped on the top of the cam. It should never do that. It should always land in that little indent. So there's something making it run on too far. It could be our brake switch that we put in there that's not quite right. What do you think? Maybe. So I think that's our problem. It's just running on too far. So if it does that, it ends up in a spot it shouldn't be at. It should never be in the middle. It should go all the way through, and because it's doing those resets that we were talking about, and making the relays reset as it goes through. It shouldn't stop halfway through, because that would leave one turned on maybe that isn't supposed to be turned on, and that's why we're ending up with extra base runners and extra runs and all of that. So I got to figure out how to make that stop in the indent each time. All right, we're getting somewhere now. There are only 2 switches that run that. They actually have it mentioned over here, but it's so I've got a little piece of the schematic. It's got a couple little parts. So basically what happens is, if the score motor turns and it shuts a switch up here, this is 1D, and it shuts a switch down there, 1A, every time this turns around, okay? The only 2 ways that can advance is if the reset relay pulls in, because you're starting a game. If the reset relay pulls in, it turns it on by basically connecting whenever this switch hits, 1D, it sends a pulse and moves that to the first step. Once it moves it to the first step, this switch is on, and then every time the score motor turns, if that switch is on, it will keep turning it until it gets back to the hole where that run out switch goes off. So the reset relay can do it, and I guess I don't really know why they do that. I guess just to make sure that it's always in the home position or whatever. Oh, you know why they do it. It's to reset make sure all the men reset. Pretty smart of them. So the reset relay turns it on and makes that run through. And remember, as that runs through, it resets the first base, second base, third base. If the single or the double or whatever's pulled in, it relatches them as it steps through with that convoluted setup that we were just looking at online. So the reset relay can turn that on, and then the only other thing that can turn that on, if it's in its home position. So if it's not in its home position, it will turn every time the score motor turns until it gets to its home position. If it's in its home position, the only 2 things that can turn it on are the reset relay and the single relay, which is why every time it hits a double or a triple or a home run, it has to have the single relay on as well. So the single relay closes, and then as this turns, it will turn on this 1D switch. So that will connect right as this goes around. Here my springy brake switch. Right as it turns around, it hits this, which closes that switch, and then immediately after that, there's a switch down here that closes, and the 2 of them combined give it the juice that it needs to knock it off home base, okay, on the position 1. Well, now that it's on position 1, this switch is closed, and so now, as this turns, the switch down at the bottom, 1A, every time it hits, which is 4 more times, it will pulse it 4 more times till it gets back to the home position. Okay, so as you saw, we're having problems where it goes too far, etc., etc. So what I did was, I just sat here and looked at it and just kept hitting a single over and over and over and over and over again. And what I noticed was, this plunger never pulled in more than 5 times. Sometimes it would only pull in 3 times. So what's that all about? Well, what that means is that this is not sending it. It's making more than 5 steps, though. This is not sending it more than 5 pulses because the coil doesn't pull in more than 5 times. And the times when it only pulls in 2 or 3 times is because the previous time that the score motor stopped, it was off its home position. So it only had 2 turns till it got to the home position. So anyway, this is all, like I said, really convoluted stuff. But what's going on is when this pulls in, sometimes it's making 2 or 3 steps. So this isn't adjusted right, which makes sense because remember we had to replace the parts and everything. So what I need to do is take that back apart, and we need to look at it. There's some adjustments that need made, and there's probably some stuff broken on it still that I don't know about. So I'm gonna well, hopefully nothing broken, but I'm going to lay that back down so we can look at the back side of it again and see what we run into. Holy crap, I figured it out. I can see what's happening now, people. I can see clearly now. Okay, so remember we worked on this on the other video. All right. So what we did was, now remember I never took this loose, did I? I think it was still in the cabinet the whole time. That's my excuse. So we messed with this, right? So this comes in and hits the coil stop up here. But there's supposed to be a little thing here that stops the arm to help kind of, I got it sitting on something now so it can't turn freely, but there's supposed to be something here to help to hit the arm to kind of help support the wham bam thank you ma'am so the coil stop doesn't have to absorb all of it, right? So this little thing's broke. It looks just like where's another one? This one. See, this is the same thing. There's a little L-shaped bracket. That should have a little stop on the end of it. It's broken. Okay? And then the plunger is traveling too far. That's our main problem. Am I on the wrong focus again? Yeah. There you go. There's some focus. Okay, so when this pulls in, it goes down and grabs the next tooth. But look how much farther it's going past the tooth. It shouldn't go that far. So see, it's under the tooth. And then it pulls down to go under the other tooth to push that tooth up. And then it should travel a little more. But this one's traveling all the way down to almost 2 teeth. So in the heat of the moment, when it's going bam, 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 it gets way down towards almost another tooth, and if that thing spins just a little bit, you're going to push it 2 teeth instead of 1 tooth. When I was looking at it when I was doing it and just watching it, I did it like 30 times. It looked like a couple times it was sliding 3 teeth, like 3 steps. So it would, instead of moving from 1 step to the next, and it's doing it pretty quick because it's doing 5, so it's going dun 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 dun. Is that 4? No, that's 5. It's doing it that fast, and I would watch it and it would go dun and move 1 step, and then it go dun, and it would move like 3 steps, and then dun. Okay, now it's at the home position. Then it hits 2 more times, and now you end up halfway on the next rivets. That's the whole problem. So this thing is pulling in too far. It shouldn't go down that next tooth that far. Look how far down it goes. It should be more up like here maybe. Okay, and this little thing needs to be replaced. So I need to go see if I've got one of those. Oh, the way you adjust that, how far that comes in, is by moving these screws. That one, that one, and that one. Look, I've got that one still loose. Move that screw and that screw. And if you push it down farther, it can't pull in as far, and so it adjusts that other side. So let me adjust it a little bit, and then we'll see how it ends up looking, and I'll show you how I think it should be adjusted. Did I mention this isn't even my machine? I'm doing this all for our buddy Shane. Shane, we're going deep in your game, buddy. All right, so here's our problem. So this, when it pulls down, it goes 1.5 teeth. Because I need to adjust this, okay? And this is what's broke. So I'm looking at this on Marco Specialties website. So it tells you how to adjust it. Right here it says, hold plunger A1190 against coil stop and adjust coil case up or down so that step-up pawl has moved approximately 1.5 teeth. And then hold drive lever in and adjust stop A256 against drive lever. That's this one. So that's the one that's broke. So I'm gonna order one. So at the beginning on the the early video, whenever we always pick up all the stuff out of the bottom and save everything, I found this little piece, which at some point had broke off and fallen down into the bottom of the cabinet. And that's the other piece of it. So now we know. So that should fix it. I've adjusted it. I adjusted the coil thing. I just haven't got one of these yet. But you can run it like that. But you're basically slamming the plunger into the coil stop, and it'll cause problems eventually. So you're supposed to have this to hit the drive arm to help stop it. But I think we could go ahead and test it out. What do you think? So I've adjusted it now where when it goes in, it goes 1 tooth and a half. And I think that's going to be our whole problem. All right, people, it's going to be loud. 1. Oop, I hit it wrong. Whoop. I'm hitting the relay wrong. It's not messed up. I hit the switch instead. So you see now, every time it turns around, it lands in the little thing where it should, and it's not running extra ones. Thank God. Oh, we're halfway there. Okay, so I'm making a list of what is not working on it as I go through the scoring part. So I've got my head wrapped around though how it works now. When it starts, it's here. Okay. If you hit a single, it moves it to position 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and then position 5 is back here. Okay. So when it starts, it's here. If you hit a single or a double, which also pulls in the single, or a triple, which also pulls in single, or a home run, which also pulls in single, this starts moving. When it gets to position 1, it resets the third base. So if the light is on, it turns it off. If the light's off, it doesn't need to because it's already off. Okay. Then it gets to the next position and resets second base. And at the same time, it checks to see what's going on here. If a triple has been hit, this connects up to here, which connects power through. And if a home run hasn't been hit, that's still connected. Connects power through there, which turns on the guy on third base. But at the same time, it's resetting second base. Then it moves to here and resets first base. And at the same time, if a triple has not been hit, because if a triple's hit, you'll never be on first or second base. You only go to third base. If a triple has not been hit, power connects through here. This is the double relay. If a double has not been hit, all right, this is second base that we're looking at. If a double has been hit, this is connected. Power comes through here, connects through, and puts a guy on second, turns on the second baseman. Okay? But let's say a double wasn't hit. You hit a single. Well, you didn't hit a triple, so it comes through here. You didn't hit a double, so it's still here. Comes through here. You hit a single, so that connects. And it connects through, this one doesn't work yet. Connects through position 3, right? Oh, wait a minute, we're still on this, right? So then it moves to the next spot, which clears third base. Oh, we were still here, weren't we? I about got it. So basically, I'm writing down all of the stuff that it's doing. So I'm just hitting a single over and over again. The first time it worked, put a guy on first base. Every time I hit it, it puts a guy on first base. So that one's working perfect. The second time, it did not move a guy to second. And then the next time, it didn't move a guy to second or third. And then finally, it moved a guy to second. The next time, it moved a guy to third. And then the next time, it scored a run, bases were loaded. And that worked for like 5 times. And then the next time, the third player and the second player dropped out. So I want to show you, though, how we can see the guys running the bases. So remember, as that turns, it turns off each light in reverse order. Okay, let's just load the bases. All right, so there's a guy on each base. Now watch as it goes through. You'll see that light go off, then that light go off, then that light go off. And it should turn them all back on if I hit a single, because a base runner should keep the bases loaded. So see how it turned them off? And you heard a ding? That's because we got a home run. So it's resetting them just fine. So the reset is not the problem. The problem is sometimes the second player doesn't come back on when he should. And since that doesn't happen, you end up where now if I hit a single, if this doesn't move to second, it screws us all up. All right, so there's something going on with the second. But if I hit the 2 number, it comes right on. So something to do with that relay that turns on the second light is screwed up. Okay, I think I've got it figured out. I'm going to hit a home run, which will clear the bases. And by the way, the bell's just going to chime, people. You're just going to have to deal with it. Okay, so the bases are clear, right? If I hit a double, it always works. Now, if you watch, this time I'm going to get so I'm at home plate. I'm going to get a double. This guy's going to run home. You'll see him blink and then come back on because the double that I just hit lands there. And you'll hear the bang because we got a home run, right? And I can do this 20 times, and that will always work. So let's hit a home run to clear the bases again. Sounded like I got 2 runs. Whatever. We're still working on that. So if I hit a triple, I'm on third base. Now this time when I hit a triple, this guy will run home, and then I'll end up on third base again. So the same thing will happen. You'll see the light go off, and then it come back on. And you can do it 20 times. The triple always works. So let's hit a home run again. The home run's giving us too many scores, it sounds like. But if I hit a home run now, every time it will run all the way around. So the same thing's going on, right? None of these are lighting up because he hit a homer. He's going all the way around. And you never get a weird one popping on, right? It's only when you do a single. Right, so now I've got a single, and now it needs to do the math and get the guy to second. So it worked that time. So now let's say we hit a double. That worked perfect, yeah. Because guy on first ran to third, and then the double ended up on second. So everything's working except sometimes the singles don't work right. So he's on first. Second, and we lost our second baseman. Okay, so how is that possible? So it resets backwards. The third one looked, saw there was a guy on second, so it lit the third back up. The second one looked, saw there was a guy on first, but didn't light the second one back up. So something screwed up there. So it's always second base that's a problem. And then once that's not lit up, you can't get to third base because there's nobody on second if you hit a single. Okay, so it just screws it all up. And so it's got to be this switch. Got to be that one. So if I adjust that switch better, we should be where our base runners work perfect. What do you think? Oh, and a second ago when I couldn't figure out how the single works, I was thinking we were staying on that connection. It keeps turning. So you hit a single, you haven't hit a triple, so power connects this way. You haven't hit a double, so power connects this way. That is held in. That's what I wasn't thinking about. So that's held in. And whenever this turns around to the fourth position, it will turn on the first baseman. It all makes sense, people. It's just extremely clever. Good job, whoever designed it. What was his name? Ed Krasinski. Boy, he was smart. All right, so I'm going to go adjust that switch, and then we'll see if everything's working good. All right, folks, I think we got it pretty much straightened out. I'm still watching it, though. This is one of those ones where we're going to let it sit around a while. I've been reading online about this, and apparently all of these games that we're talking about that do this thing with the base runners, it's a freaking nightmare to get them to work perfect. So, where are we? The triple always works. The home run always works. The single always works. If you've got a single and then get a double, it always works. If you've got a single and always get a triple, it always works. If you've got a single and always get a home run, it always works. If you've got a double and get a single, it always works. If you've got a double and get a triple, it always works. If you've got a double and get a double, it always works. If you've got a double and get a home run, it always works. But if you've got a single and then get a single, 80% of the time it works. So we got to keep working on it. But all in all, it's working pretty good. And what are the odds that you would get a single and then another single directly after that? Yeah, we'll see. So leave your comments below. Let us know what you think so far. Did you even understand any of that logic on the schematics? I barely understood it, but I think I got my mind around it. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it. And don't forget, folks, to check out my brother Donnie. If you don't know about my brother Donnie, my brother has a channel here on YouTube called my brother Donnie. And if you like watching us work on these old pinball machines, you might enjoy watching he and I work on old buildings. We've been working on old pickup trucks lately and stuff like that. We just got into a bunch of 65 Chevy pickup truck stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. So go check that out. I'm usually over there with him on the channel. I'll play it a little bit, but we're going to do a whole other video of us playing it just because the game's so cool, and we're going to paint it. We talked with the owner, and what he wants us to do is just do, it's so screwed up. We're not really willing to re-stencil the whole thing because it's just a ton of work. But we're going to do like just a two-tone paint job to make it look kind of much better than it does now, to clean it up a little bit. So let's play it just a little bit. The battery's going to die on my camera here eventually. And also, we need to paint the legs so it's not level at all. But maybe we'll get some one run. Maybe we'll get some baser runners. Oh yeah, you want to see the very target. I got to show you that the very target's variable target. Adjusting the legs is going to help a lot, I think. But we got to paint them first. Look at it, just nibbling at it. There's our single. There's our second single. See, it worked that time. Oh, and there's our home run. 3 runs, that's pretty good. Man on third. What's a good sounding game if it hasn't driven you crazy? By the way, the loudness of the bells will be muted once the glass is on it and the back door's on it. Oh. Come on. Last ball, people. Remember, you get 8 balls the way it's set up. And I haven't added a ball yet. Alright, so she's playing decent, but we'll keep messing with it. We'll see you on the next video, though. We'll do one more of this one just showing how it plays and ended up looking with the cool paint job. You'll be amazed. See you on the next video.